Welcome, everybody, on this gorgeous Tuesday, 12th of August, 2025. Just a little bit shade after 6 p.m. Hope you got the Angelus in, or well, East Coast time. You guys in Central and Pacific Mountain, you got another hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Anyways, let's get to it. As you know, the military police is now running on DC. We'll get to more on this in a little bit, but I'll start out with RT. Pentagram plan to create military reaction force for civil unrest, according to the WAPO. Citing the plan that if adopted, 600 troops will be on standby, based in Alabama and Arizona, and tasked rapidly deploying into U.S. cities facing protests. Points to Trump's willingness to use army on U.S. soil. And remember the movie Civil War? It's you see, like what happened with the bombings in Iran, Top Gun. Everything was. It's funny how the Hollywood stuff is showing things that are going on right now. Now you got that dumb movie Civil War, where during the Obama commented on talking about how that's the reaction of because of people was like, hey, that's how the reaction from the feds would be. Starting to look like possible on there. Any time of a protest, we're throwing in martial law. So, First Amendment rights, forget amendments, forget about it, right? Whatever we want to do. We already elected monarch. And hey, this is just each group. Brandon did it. Remember Brandon throwing the National Guard in the car lot, the parking lot, and let them stay overnight for a couple of days, use them. They all do it. Oh, let me go ahead and do this. I wanted to put in, I'll find it later. I was going to get the Wikipedia description of it. Anyway, the Home Act that came out, it came in 1970s, gives them 30 days. It gives them 48 hours. Was it 48 hours to do whatever they want? And then he can ask for 30 days. So what they're doing is a whole 30-day program on this, which no one can say no to. It pretty much just usurps that power. And the National Guard there is a DC National Guard started under Jefferson, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it was Truman that came up with this idea for the Home Act thing, and no one's ever used it till now. But we'll get more on this later and throughout the days. Gizen Maxwell, talk about the Epstein conundrum. Cleared to leave prison on work release. You remember Judge Janine just the other day saying, oh, there won't be any more arts and crafts? Well, guess who's working arts and crafts now? This Maxwell. You laugh not to cry. This Maxwell, whose last job was literally trafficking kids, is going to be cleared to leave prison on work release. ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt says Christianity is the origin of anti-Semitism. Quote, there were these accusations that the Jews killed Christ. You're going to hear more and more of this because remember, the EO that Trump signed in one of the early days in office was the anti-Semitic bill. Anybody is getting jailed. It's getting jailed because they're talking bad about most favored nation. Again, more people have been imprisoned for talking poorly about Israel than the Epstein case. So let that sink in. Said that before. ICE plans to acquire AI tech that can scan and identify people's irises from 10 to 15 feet away using a mobile app, comparing the images to databases and social media photos for deportation purposes. If you remember me playing that video yesterday, was it yesterday? Yesterday or Saturday, one of the two. Days get confused with kids, all this stuff. I'm sorry. How many videos with today? 15 videos, whatever, and this. So, anyways, if you watched that yesterday, play that clip from the one guy that talked about where did they get these. This came from Israel, used this on Gaza during this Palantir. They're all connected in this. Remember we talked yesterday about the Obergefell versus Hodge could be taken down. AF posts up. If the Supreme Court overturns gay so-called marriage as is currently under consideration, it would be banned in as many as 32 states overnight. Again, here's your choice. Most people want this. Most people want centralization of everything. So you see, pick a color, blue or red. They want that whole thing red or that whole thing blue. So it means that no one has a choice in anything else. Not saying gay marriage is a choice for anybody to say. Not saying it's a good thing. But I live in one of these red states right here. Okay. I don't want to live like New York. I don't want to live like Maine. I don't want to live like Washington, California. If I wanted to live in Maine or live like in Maine, New York, California, Washington, I would move to Maine, New York, Washington, California. But I don't. Each of those little those white lines right there is called a border. And everyone says that. You're at the border. I'm a mile from the border of South Carolina, border of the state of South Carolina, border of the country of South Carolina. That is what these are. Again, you want you want a one-size-fit-all blanket statement? Good luck getting any of this stuff taken out, and just call ourselves Russell Jr. This is federalism. There's 50 right there, federal republics. California literally has a flag that says Republic of California. Everybody's a republic. A republic of republics is what they used to call it. Again, federalism is the way to beat all this nonsense. And if we had people that had spines in each state house, they could tell DC to go pound sand on virtually anything they want. Obergefell gets voted in a couple years ago, whenever it did. Say the governor of North Carolina had a spine, they could have said, nope, that's not a law here. We don't recognize it. Done. Wasn't a thing that the federal government can do. South Carolina said, Roe, we're not going to we'll nullify that. Done. Capiche, kaput, done. Nothing can be done about it. We don't like to talk about it. Sorry about that. Computer decides to quit sometimes. It's overworked and underpaid. So I had to the computer screen froze, so back had to shut it off, come back on. No big whoop, but apologize for that. Anyways, don't know where it froze up on me, but you get the idea. Let's go on to the next. Let's see if I got crutches on the computer now. Australia is next U.S. ally pledging to recognize Palestinian statehood at the United Nations. Apparently, New Zealand is strongly thinking about doing it as well. Eventually, it's going to be the U.S. and Israel versus the world. UK government urges citizens to delete emails to save water. If just in case you don't believe me, I'll just open it up so it's larger. How to save water at home. Install a rain butt to collect rain to use in the garden. Fix the leaky toilet. Leaky loos can waste 200 to 400 liters a day. Use water from the kitchen to water your plants. Avoid watering your lawn. Brown grass will grow back healthy. Well, that gets back into why you even have a lawn anyways. Grow your food and don't worry about a lawn. The lawn is the most overrated, most wasteful thing that you could have. Turn off the taps when brushing teeth or shaving. If you use real toothpaste that works, that's actually good for you, you don't even need water at all. Take shorter showers. Delete old emails and pictures, as data centers require vast amounts of water to cool their systems. I mean, kind of like we told you so, but they're just telling you straight up, we need to use water for data. Don't use the water. We'd rather have you die than us get rid of our data centers. You guys remember Peanut the Squirrel? Peanut the Squirrel's owners sued New York for $10 million after the raid and decapitation. The owners of Peanut, the beloved squirrel that was seized and euthanized by the state of New York, are suing for $10 million in damages over the death of their pets, according to a lawsuit filed in New York Court of Claims. If anybody remembers the squirrel, that's one of the videos of it. Just crazy he had a squirrel as a pet anyways. But did you know 850 million people globally lack official ID, with 470 million in sub-Saharan Africa? Our blog discusses the overview of ID ownership in sub-Saharan Africa and discusses how digital IDs can help bridge the significant ID access gaps. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have enough people with IDs. We need digital IDs. They don't have a car. I mean, you have to have a cell phone. Pretty much you're going to have a cell phone. No matter if you're in the bush or what, to be able to do anything. Don't worry, the track. We got one on tracking here soon. California hospital covered up surge in stillbirths after the jibbity jab shots that happened back in the day. Whistleblower lawsuit filed for the Superior Court of California. Fresno County accuses Community Regional Medical Center of covering up a dramatic rise in stillbirths during the jibbity Japanation. Nurse Michelle Spencer, who has worked at the hospital since 2017, says the spike began in spring of 2021. I don't know what was going on during that time. Shortly after the rollout of the Rona jabs. Prior to that, the hospital reportedly saw one stillbirth per month. After the jab push, the number jumped to approximately 20 each month. Man, did we talk about stuff like that back in the day? Almost daily. They were talking about that was a rise of nobody cared to listen because trust the experts. Deadly flesh-eating bacteria spread across beaches as cases surge and terrifying rise. Heard about this a couple times on our local ones. Yeah, because one was off North Carolina here. Bacteria typically populates the waters off the Gulf Coast and slowly has made its way northward, appearing in the waters off North Kakalaki, where it's infected 59 people and killed one since January 1st, according to state health records. Florida has had 16 cases this year and a death toll of 5. Louisiana reported 17 cases, 4 of which proven fatal. They go through open wounds and strike unsuspecting diners who eat raw or uncooked seafood like oysters. Study links fries, not other forms of potato, with diabetes. A new Harvard study has linked French fries to an increased risk of type 2 diabetes, but not to potatoes, even baked, boiled, or mashed. Anybody want to take a gather or why? Could it be that they're cooking the fries in something? Because you don't cook the baked, boiled, or mashed potatoes in a deep fat fryer. It's just kind of saying it's probably the reason why. It's not the French fry that made from the potato. You can make French real potato fries and not throw them in a deep fat fryer or use something else to cook them in. Just what do I know? It's probably that. I saw this today. It said how to save thousands in taxes with the click of a button. This is on Zero Hedge, a sponsored one. Apparently buried in the Byzantine tax code is the line most Americans, even most accountants, overlooked. And talk about a health savings account to pay for things you've already buy, like gym membership, mental health, cold plunges, and infrared saunas, supplements, sleep optimization devices, and even healthy groceries. The catch: you need a letter of medical necessity, a signed document from a licensed professional stating that your purchases is essential to your health. Apparently, it's in the big, beautiful bill somewhere. Reclaim the net, the new Instagram feature that should make you run for the off switch. If you care about privacy or privacy, if you're English, you'll want to warn the people in your life before Instagram starts broadcasting their location in real time. Alexa, +6 nearby. If you support privacy, you probably aren't using Instagram anyway. But if you have friends and family who still use it, you would want to let them know about this new invasive feature Instagram is introducing. Meta is rolling out 3 new Instagram updates, but one of them takes the platform into territory that should set off serious alarm bells for anyone who values privacy. The first 2 changes are relatively harmless: a new option to repost public reels and a Friends tab showing posts your contacts have liked or commented on. The third is far more invasive: Instagram's new Friend Map, a live tracking system that lets you share your exact location with chosen contacts and see theirs in return. Meta frames it a way to stay up to date with friends, but it's a real value to its company, not to you. The feature mirrors Snapchat's Snap Map and is being introduced first in the United States before a global release. Unlike meeting up for a coffee, this kind of connection means giving Meta a constant feed of where you are, when you are there, and how often you go there. It draws from your phone's GPS along with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi signals to pinpoint your location. If you've ever tagged your location in a post or story, you should have done it anyways. You may have already granted the necessary permissions. Tagged reel stories and posts can appear on the map for 24 hours, along with notes from mutual followers. Instagram says location sharing is off for the first time you open the map, but it is not clarified if it will push you to turn it back on later. Once permissions are in place, the app can access your location anytime you use it. You shut it down. Go to map. Go to messages. Tap map at the top. Open settings. Select no one and confirm. I mean, if you go out there and you're when people say, "Hey, I'm here," on whatever. My cousin did it once, and I'd send him a text. Oh, so no one's gonna be at a house, so we can rob it. Literally telling people you're not home. U.S. citizen detained by ICE in L.A. says he wasn't given water for 24 hours. Andrea Velez was charged with assaulting a federal officer while he was attempting to arrest a suspect. The DOJ later dismissed her case. A U.S. citizen, let me rewind that back one more time. A U.S. citizen who was detained by ICE, U.S. citizen, now she was detained and accused of obstructing an arrest before her case was ultimately dismissed. And said she still has been traumatized by what happened. Sure. ICE officers detained Andrea Velez in downtown LA on June 24th. She was charged with assaulting a federal officer while he was attempting to arrest the suspect. The Justice Department dismissed the case without prejudice. It did not immediately reply to the request for comment Tuesday. Why would they? Velez, a production coordinator for a shoe company, recalled seeing federal agents when her mother and sister dropped her off at work. It was like a scene that were just ready to attack and chase. And obviously, look at him. They all got masks over their faces. I mean, they don't let you know who they are. Velez says it's pretty much an unconstitutional legal act what they're going on. No one wants to talk about that. Velez says someone grabbed her and slammed her to the ground. She said that she tried to tell an agent who was in plain clothes that she was a citizen and that he told her he told her she was, quote, interfering with what he was doing. He was going to arrest me. So he was going to arrest me. That's when I asked him to show me his ID, his badge number, she said. I asked him if he had a warrant, and he said I didn't need to know. I didn't need to know any of that. Again, what kind of is this the society we want? People just come in, the brown shirts come in, just rake anybody up just because they don't look like this, they talk this way, they do this. This is a U.S. citizen, didn't care. Federal criminal complaint alleged that the agent was chasing a man and that Velez stepped into the agent's path and extended her arm in an apparent effort to prevent him from apprehending the male subject that he was chasing. Yeah, she looks like someone that's going to stop anybody, right? The complaint said Velez's arm hit the agent in the face. Okay. Again, color me soft. Velez said she was denied any wrongdoing, and she denied any wrongdoing, insisted she was a U.S. citizen. She was taken to the detention center in downtown L.A., where she gave officers her driver's license and her health insurance card, but she was still booked into jail. She said she spent 2 days in the detention center where she had nothing to drink for 24 hours. Again, is this how we're supposed to treat humans anymore? There's actually Christians out there cheering on this stuff. Nursing mother unlawfully detained by ICE, attorney says. Twin Cities, Minnesota. The attorneys for nursing mother in the Twin Cities who spent more than 3 weeks in U.S. ICE custody argued she was unlawfully detained and will petition the federal court on Tuesday for her release. Maldonado, 26, and her 2 children, who are U.S. citizens and lives in Lake Elmo, Minnesota, and was taken into custody on July 17th. Gloria Contreras-Eden and Hannah Brown, who are representing her pro bono, submitted a writ of habeas corpus petition challenging her continued detention. They argue she should be released on bond in accordance with an immigration judge earlier decision in July 31st. She's a U.S. citizen, to which the Department of Homeland Security filed an automatic stay, which has kept her in the county jail. I've had over 1,000 cases before the immigration courts, and in all my years and in all my experience, I haven't seen anything like this before, especially when someone is lactating, has small baby children at home, no criminal history, and then being detained for so long. It just goes against ICE policies. It just seems wrong. Anybody with any working brain cells has to see this as wrong. U.S. citizen. Not the first, not the second, not the third. Teen with disabilities reportedly detained by ICE outside LA school. Because it's MS-13. He's an MS-13 guy, right? That's what they said. We're going to go after the worst of the worst. Now they're going after some kid with a disability. LA United School District leaders are calling for limits of ICE enforcement near campuses after a 15-year-old boy with disabilities was pulled from a car, handcuffed, and briefly detained outside Arleta High School on Monday in what officials described as a case of mistaken identity. Kiss my grits. Accused of racism and retaliation, this Idaho sheriff is now working with ICE. Your sheriff should be the guy on your side. If you have a good sheriff, you don't have to worry about anything. He got the line. You do not cross. Thou shalt not pass. Big deal. Western Idaho deputy was called in office to check on a suspicious person parked on the highway with no other information offered. The deputy asked his boss, Sheriff Larry Kendrick, what was so suspicious. She's black and she doesn't belong here, Kendrick replied, according to the deputy, who has since left the department. Deputy, one of the few officers of color in the department, was ordered to go find her. The suspicious person turned out to be a woman experiencing homelessness, and the deputy gave her a list of shelters and asked her to move her car. But they go after us Southerners all the time. South Park keeps up Christy no mockery with pet store massacre sequence. That's got to be funny. If you know about her book, she talks about killing a dog. Yeah, here we get into what's going on in D.C. The president's police state. Trump, this is from the Atlantic. Trump is delivering the authoritarian government his party once warned about. Now cheerleads for. For years, prominent voices on the right argued that Democrats were enacting a police state. Yeah, and we talked about that in Brandon time, Obama days. They labeled everything. A report on homegrown extremism, IRS investigations into nonprofits, a sign of impending authoritarianism, measures taken by state governments to combat the spread of Rona, tyranny, and FBI search of Mar-a-Lago. Remember that? The weaponization of law enforcement. Now that our president is actually sending federal troops and officers out into the streets of nation cities. However, the right is in lockstep behind him. This morning, DJT announced that he was declaring a crime emergency, temporarily seizing control of the Washington, D.C. Metropolitan Police Department and deploying the D.C. National Guard to the nation's capital. This is Liberation Day in D.C., Trump said. Nothing says liberation like deploying hundreds of uniformed soldiers against the wishes of the local elected government. District residents have made clear that they would prefer greater autonomy, including congressional representation, and they have 3 times voted overwhelmingly against Trump. His response is not just to flex power, but to treat the district of criminals as the presidential's personal fiefdom. Out of date statistics has placed 2 officials without municipal policing experience in positions of power over federalization and the NPD, and seems unlikely to significantly affect crime rates. What the White House hopes it might achieve, Politico reports, is quote, a quick, visually friendly PR win. Trump needs that Trump needs that after more than a month of trying and failing to change the subject of his one-time friend, Jeffrey Epstein. It's a great distraction of the Epstein thing, yes. To justify the crackdown, Trump has cited an alleged carjacking attempt that police records say injured the former Doge employee Edward Big Balls Correstein, which cheerleader Benny Johnson asked if he was going to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award for it. But NPD has already arrested 2 Maryland 15-year-olds for unarmed carjacking. That's good news. Carjacking is a serious crime and should be punished. But Trump has used the incident to claim that violent crime is skyrocketing in D.C. That is, put simply, nonsense. During a press conference today, Trump cited murder statistics from 2023 and said carjackings had more than tripled over the last 5 years. He didn't use more recent numbers that show that these crimes are down significantly in Washington. Murder dropped 32% from 2023 to 2024. Robberies down 39%, and armed carjackings 53%. This is in line with the broad national reduction of crime. NPD's preliminary data indicate that violent crime is down another 26% far this year compared with the same time frame in 2024. Though the crime statistics that Jeff Asher writes, this drop is probably overstated. Here's a Pat Murphy's thought, the District of Criminals Home Rule Act. Yes, District of Columbia, but it's more fun saying District of Criminals. Home Rule Act can be used, and that's for any administration. It's not just this. Biden, Trump, Obama, Reagan, Bush, both Bushes, Clinton, all of them. It's all criminals up there. Impact the public by allowing Congress to override locally enacted laws and restrict the autonomy of D.C. residents, despite the city having an elected local government. Under the act, Congress retains ultimate legislative authority over the district and can review and block any legislation passed by the D.C. Council before it becomes law. At no time in history has government been the good guys. This is from Defense One. How Trump's D.C. takeover could supercharge surveillance. The emergency declaration, combined by new tech, will give government broad new abilities to watch and monitor this. And that's the phrase that pays right there. Trump's declaration of crime emergency in Washington, D.C. will further intertwine the U.S. military and its equipment and technology in law enforcement matters and perhaps expose D.C. residents and visitors to unprecedented digital surveillance. Remember wanting to build a digital wall? Brushing aside statistics, we already went over that. We will have a full, seamless, integrated cooperation at all levels of law enforcement, and we'll deploy officers across the district with overwhelming presence. You will have more police, and you'll be so happy because you're being safe. Remember that whole thing about Franklin saying those who sacrifice liberty for safety get none? We will work close, HeadSec, we will look close alongside DC police and federal law enforcement to ensure the city is safe. What comes next? The June 2020 deployment of National Guard units to work alongside DC police offers a glimpse. Citywide use of sophisticated intelligence gathering technologies normally reserved for foreign war zones. Some surveillance programs will be relatively easy to spot, such as spy aircraft over DC's closely guarded airspace. In 2020, authorities deployed an RC-26B, a military intelligence aircraft, and MQ-9 Predator drones. The FBI contributed a Cessna 560 equipped with dirt boxes, devices that mimic cell towers to collect mobile data, long used by the military to track terrorist networks in the Middle East. Other gear would be less obvious. The 2020 protests saw expanded use of stingrays, another type of cellular interception device developed to enable the military to track militants in Iraq and Afghanistan. Stingrays were used by the U.S. Secret Service in 2020 and 2021 in ways that the DHS Inspector General found broke the law and policies concerning privacy and warrants. Agency officials said exigent circumstances justified the illicit spying. Now, with federal agencies and entities working with military personnel under declared emergency circumstances, new gear could enter domestic use. And local officials and civilian review boards that normally oversee police use of such tech may lack the power to prevent or even monitor it. In 2021, the DC government ended a facial recognition pilot program after police used it to identify a protester at Lafayette Square. But local prohibitions don't apply to federalized or military forces. Next up, AI-powered surveillance. Palantir. The Detachment 201 got enacted last month. Palantir is up there. This is going to be, worry about what's going on, the distraction also, but they're going to have an AI surveillance hellhole up there. The Pentagon plan would create military reaction force for civil unrest. Exclusive inside San Fran's Robot Fight Club. We'll get into something a little less, troublesome. First rule of Fight Club is not talking about Fight Club, but we got Robot Fight Club. This is Nick Frenz saying that he's worried that the Palantir and others are going to kill him because he brought this up. I was expecting something else, but I mean, he's been saying the same thing I've been saying, but he has a bigger platform and cusses way too much. Here is Travis Kelce on his upcoming season, post-NFL ambitions, and life with Taylor Swift. Again, these are already underneath in the show notes. I sold my face to AI for 1,500 pounds. Now I'm terrified. I'm trapped in a nightmare. Lucy was approached with the opportunity to become an AI model, just like the celebrities she's seen on her social media feed. But the easy money soon spiraled into a living nightmare. Pastor sees boycott of Target stores as new civil rights fight. Sam Altman challenges, Sam, good old Sam that was part of day one, Stargate. I know no one knows what Stargate is. No one remembers what Stargate is. Day one, the $500 billion cancer MRA jazz. The stuff that's still going on, even though they said that MRA stuff is gone. That's Stargate's still going. Altman and Musk have become fierce rivals in their pursuit for AI. OpenAI and its co-founder Sam Altman. By the way, OpenAI is part of Detachment 201 and the health the takeover by the AI last week. Will compete with Elon Musk Neuralink to connecting human brains with computers, hiding the rivalry between the two billionaire entrepreneurs. Here's the Hill. Is there any reason to pardon Gizen Maxwell except to buy her silence? Pretty much that's it. Major U.S. airline warns it will shut without cash boost, sparking fears of mass route cancellation. Spirit Airlines is warning that it may not be able to continue operating just months after emerging with bankruptcy. I think, don't you have to pay to be able to sit down and pay for water, maybe the air to breathe? Delivery drones may soon take off in the U.S. Here's why. Delivery drones are so fast they can zip a pint of ice cream to a customer's driveway before it melts. Yet the long-promised technology has been slow to take off in these United States more than 6 years after the FAA approved commercial home delivery with drones. The service mostly was confined to a few suburbs and rural areas. That could soon change. The FAA proposed a new rule last week that would make it easier for companies to fly drones outside of an operator's line of sight, and therefore over long distances. A handful of companies are doing now, but they have to obtain waivers and certification as an air carrier to deliver packages. Walmart's about to do it, I guess. Yeah, drone delivery in Dallas area. By next summer, Walmart expands 100 Walmart stores to Atlanta, Charlotte, North Carolina, Houston, and Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A bunch of buzzing in the sky. Meet the parents raising carnivore babies, swapping pureed fruit for ribeye. I love a ribeye. I can't tell you last night a ribeye. 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Can air conditioning really make you sick? A microbiologist explains. Well, if you stay inside all day long, that could probably be it. Lack of vitamin D, all this other stuff. Plus, you got to make sure you clean out the vents and make sure your house is not have mold on the outside. There's a lot of factors. It's probably not just the AC. Warning is Frankenstein rabbit, but they don't want you to use the AC because that's another way. Warning is Frankenstein rabbits with tentacles sprouting from their heads invade parts of the U.S. Quote, do not touch them. What? Dogs living near Chernobyl natural disaster have mutated to develop new superpower. Okay. The Tsar virus is turning ordinary rabbits in the U.S. into grotesque horned creatures with black tentacle-like growths sprouting from their faces, and sightings are on the rise. Mutated rabbits have been spotted multiple times in Fort Collins, Colorado. There's a picture of one of those mutated rabbits. I bet it's from all the when I was there was a lot of homes being built on. You had to sign a waiver because they were on nuclear. They buried nuclear junk radiation underneath, and people were signing off on that. No problem, hand over fist. Just let me buy the house. I don't care. So it wouldn't be shocking if that's from that. Tropical storm Aaron forms to become first Atlantic hurricane of 2025. It is so far out there they don't. I doubt it will hit, but we'll see. The fifth storm, first hurricane. Nothing will be left. Israel prepares for Gaza City battle. And you know what? Israel has all the weapons. What do you think they're fighting with in Gaza? Not too much. They don't have a lot of weapons. They probably got some rocks, maybe a gun or two, but they're going to get wiped off the face of the map. Should have kept, but here's anti-war. Trump suggests Israel should ramp up Gaza ops. Remember, suggests Israel should ramp up Gaza ops. Italian DM, Israeli government has lost its reason and humanity. That's the understatement of the day. IDF kills 89 Palestinians in Gaza in 24 hours. Let's see what else. U.S. launched a series of airstrikes in Somalia. Again, things The peace president is bombing away, bomb Iran. Humans have 116 days until alien spaceship reaches Earth, as it could save or destroy us. Uh-huh. A Harvard professor, that's all you need to know. Don't send your kids to Harvard ever again. Israel and talks about possibility of moving Palestinians in Gaza to the South Sudan. South Sudan is facing its own hunger crisis and an influx of refugees due to the civil war in neighboring Sudan. So where can we kill them easier? Let's put them in wherever. Who else is starving? South Sudan. Brilliant. Massive train derailment in Gordon, Texas. 35 tanker cars involved. Brush fire spreading around crash site. Officials say train may have been carrying hazardous chemicals. Does East Palestine, Ohio ring a bell? Who knows? This happened a little bit ago. 5 years after shedding Confederate moniker, this is a good news section. A West Texas high school may be Lee High again for Robert E. Lee. The Midland School District rebranded Robert E. Lee High as Legacy High in 2020, part of nationwide trend to distance public places from the Confederacy. But Houston and Austin were named after actual slave guys. And, I'm not going to change those names, but it's always just Confederacy guys. Latoya Mayberry is proud of many things. She's proud of her family's West Texas roots. She's proud of her two daughters, two formidable academic athletes who are continuing the family's basketball legacy. Standing feet, that prize shame. My daughter's going to this school, and she's an athlete. We're representing the school, not just Midland, but when we travel. What does this say to her that you want to restore a name that meant whites only? That is so far from being true. It's borderline stupidity. It's so insane. To be honest, at that time, guess who was white supremacists at the time in the 1850s, 60s? Everybody. I mean, literally, you read the people in the North, they really were off the rocker. And what did the Southerners do? I won't. We could do this another day, but there wasn't any riots in the South. Why? Because everyone got along. Anyway, read Defending Dixie by Jeb Smith. It's a really good account of those arguments. It has the slave narratives involved in it and all kinds of things. Anyway, God love you. Have a great rest of the day. Sorry for the crash on the computer earlier. Click like, subscribe, all that jazz. Check out my friends with the wine company, Old Northwich. I'll put it in the show notes at the end. SF Wine, check out. 100% of the profits come to yours truly. Be able to keep everything going, and you get good wine out of it. You get a case of it. You order a case of wine. It's free shipping. More coming too. They only have 4 labels right now. There's coming out with way more. You also support St. John Cancius and the Benedictine nuns as well. Anyway, God love you. Have a great rest of the day. Also, don't forget sensitivefidelium.tv.